Hi, welcome to On This Day in Tudor History with me, Claire Ridgway, author of On This Day in Tudor History. Now today I'm taking you back to the reign of King Henry VII, the first of the Tudor monarchs. But on this day in Tudor history, the 13th of September 1503, poet and antiquary John Leland was born. Leland is known for his Latin poems and his antiquarian writings, which included a defence of the history of King Arthur, which he presented to Henry VIII. Here's The Laborious Journey and Search of John Leland for England's Antiquities, which he also presented to the king. His biographical dictionary of British authors, a collection of excerpts from British classical and medieval texts, and his itineraries, as they were called, which recorded his travels around England and Wales. But let me tell you a bit more about this Tudor poet. We know that Leland was born on the 13th of September in London due to his poetry, but the precise year is not known, although it must have been around 1503. He had an older brother called John. This wasn't that unusual, two brothers being called John in Tudor times, because infant mortality was high, and it was obviously an important family name. Leland and his brother were orphaned as children and brought up by Thomas Miles. Miles sent Leland to be educated at St. Paul's School, a school founded in 1509 by John Colet. Scholar William Lilly was his headmaster, and it was at St. Paul's that Leland met men like William Paget, Anthony Denny, Thomas Risley and Edward North, all of whom would act as his patrons later. After St. Paul's, Leland studied for his BA at Christ's College, Cambridge, and was imprisoned for a time after being linked to a knight who was in contact with pretender Richard de la Pole, who was in France. Following his release and graduation, he entered the service of Thomas Howard, 2nd Duke of Norfolk, working as tutor to his 6th son, Lord Thomas Howard. In 1524, the Duke died and King Henry VIII sent Leland to Oxford, where Leland was unhappy with the conservative teaching there. By 1528, he was in Paris working on his poetry and mixing with scholars like Jacques Lefebvre d'Etaples, Guillaume Boudet and François de Bois, principal at the Collège de Tournai. He also corresponded with important men back in England, such as Cardinal Thomas Wolsey. Leland returned to England in 1529 and was made a royal chaplain. In 1533, he and Nicholas Udall wrote verses for pageants for Queen Anne Boleyn's coronation procession. Also in 1533, the Pope granted him a dispensation to hold up to 4 benefices, so long as he took orders to become subdeacon within 2 years and priest within 7. According to Leland, it was also in 1533, prior to the dissolution of the monasteries, that King Henry VIII sent him to peruse and diligently to search all the libraries of monasteries and colleges of the realm and to list the books, which he did in his Collectanea. He was able to save some books for the royal libraries at Greenwich, Hampton Court and Westminster, and also others for himself. At New Year 1534, Leland gave the king 2 books of stories, and the king gave him a gilt vessel. In 1535, he became prebendary of Wilton Abbey. And in the late 1530s, he became interested in English and Welsh topography, spending 6 years travelling around and recording his travels in notebooks. These notes were used for his work, The Itinerary. In the 1530s, he also wrote a tract defending the Arthurian tradition, the story of King Arthur, which was followed in the 1540s by a longer work. In the 1540s, he was rector of Great Hazley in Oxfordshire and canon and prebendary of King Henry VIII College, Oxford. In 1543 or 1544, Leland gave the king his work, The Laborious Journey and Search of John Leland, for England's Antiquities. It was probably given as a New Year's gift. This was later published by Leland's friend John Bale in 1549. The work was a record of Leland's travels around the kingdom to preserve books. In 1546, the king sent him to France to bring back trees, seeds, and grafts, which is quite an interesting mission to go on. In around 1547, the year of King Henry VIII's death and Edward VI's accession, Leland had some kind of breakdown and fell into madness. In 1551, his brother John was granted custody of Leland and his property, and Leland died on the 18th of April 1552 and was buried in his brother's parish, St Michael le Quern. King Edward VI granted custody of Leland's papers to Sir John Cheke, but the collection was broken up and dispersed following Cheke's departure into exile and his subsequent death. John Dee obtained several medieval manuscripts from Leland's collection at a sale of his papers in May 1556. William Burton, a Leicestershire historian, ended up with some of Leland's works and passed them on to the Bodleian Library. His poetical works include a Latin elegy of Sir Thomas Wyatt the Elder, a lamentation commemorating the death of Sir Henry Dudley at Boulogne, a poem inspired by Edward VI's birth in 1537, 3 poems on King Henry VIII's victories in France, and a long poem describing a river trip from Oxford to Greenwich on the River Thames, in which he gave interesting topographical and historical information. His antiquarian work was used as primary sources for historians and antiquaries like William Harrison, William Camden, John Stowe, William Dugdale, John Aubrey, and Robert Plot, and his works are still used today by historians. Also on this day in Tudor history, the 13th of September 1520, William Cecil, 1st Baron Burghley and Queen Elizabeth I's chief advisor, was born in Bourne in Lincolnshire. You can find out more about the man Elizabeth I called her spirit, his court career, personal life, and his words of wisdom in last year's video, and you'll find a link to that in the description. You can click round about there to subscribe to this channel. You can hit the bell to be notified as these videos go live, and you can give me a like and leave me a comment. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Brilliant.